everybody, this is Brian.
Jason.
And this is the Perfectly Screwed Podcast. And you know what I'm going to say before we get into this?
Yes.
I'm going to put it up front. If I piss off any females during the next half an hour, I apologize beforehand. And in no way, shape, or form do I want to say that I am a proponent of rape or that women should be sexually abused or raped in any way, shape, or form. I want to put that out there to begin with.
You don't condone that behavior?
Yeah, no, I don't condone this sort of behaviors. So now that I put that out there, what am I talking about? Well, we're going to talk about some things that have been going on that have just been on my mind. We don't necessarily have a specific topic right at the moment.
Winging it.
We're going to wing it today. Yeah, this episode, I didn't have a topic planned, so we're
that.
just going to talk about some shit.
Yeah.
We don't do that too often, but it might as well. Well, first I'm going to bring up Trump. Now you know he was accused of rape by the author E. Jean Carroll, right?
Who?
E. Jean Carroll. She's like an author, I think. They didn't convict him of rape, though. They convicted him of sexual misconduct, and she sued him for like $5 million. And she won $5 million. But, they didn't get him for rape. They found him liable for sexual abuse. And, columnist, she's an author. She has a column. E. Jean Carroll in 1996, she said that Trump basically got her in a dressing room and felt her up and fucked her and stuck his fingers in her and shit. Although my point is this, and I want to say this straight up front on this one. You're in a dressing room in a major department store. Now, I understand you're scared because it's Donald Trump, but at the same time, I mean, if I'm being raped in a department store, I'm going to scream, I'm going to say something.
Right.
I mean, fuck Donald Trump. Fuck who it is. But I understand in 1996 it was a completely different culture. I mean, look at Harvey Weinstein, for God's sakes. The shit he did was unholy.
I guess there's
clear, and the shit Bill Cosby did.
I mean, none of it's right, obviously. But I guess I would say there's degrees of rape. Getting finger banged in the department store, like you said, if you don't like it, if you're actually being raped, yeah. I mean, Donald Trump doesn't seem like this overbearing, powerful dude. You know what I'm saying?
True.
If you're being absolutely fucking raped, forced against your will to have sexual intercourse, yeah, and you're in any place where you can scream, scratch, claw, yell, bang, you know what I'm saying? You would think in a department store you could get out of it if you really wanted to.
Yeah, but at the same time, you got to be. See, I understand where
this isn't somebody breaking into your house in the middle of the night and holding you at gunpoint and forcing you to have sex with them.
Well, yeah, but I understand where you run into a problem. And this is why the Me Too movement was good in a lot of ways. And still is. Because, look, you had very powerful men. Donald Trump, Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby. If these women had spoken out against them at the time, in the 90s and the 80s, first of all, they wouldn't have been believed. Secondly, they would have been basically ran out of their career. She's a columnist. He's, in 1996, one of the major businessmen in New York and probably owns the newspaper that she writes a column for.
Right.
If she says something against him, she's immediately, her whole life's over. And he goes on to live his life just like he would. And that's why the Me Too movement's good, because women who were treated like that shouldn't have been. Period.
True.
Like, the things Bill Cosby did and Harvey Weinstein did were
See, my other thing is, though, too,
inexcusable.
is in the case of rape, like I said, I mean, there's some people that will, that you don't have a fucking choice, dude. Like, there's dudes that'll snatch girls up,
Right.
fucking, like I said, break into their house, you know what I'm saying, tie them up, hold them at gunpoint, whatever, and rape them. What is this lady doing in a dressing room with Donald Trump?
Well, supposedly she went in there.
You know
They
what
were
I'm saying?
talking. She went in the dressing room. He kind of shoved his way in there with her and then proceeded to do some stuff. Another thing I heard was that he asked her to try on some lingerie or something, and she did in the dressing room with him.
Yeah.
Which, again, all that sounds a little fishy to me, kind of.
But I guess my point is, no, rape is never I'll never condone it, right? I'm not talking about like the act of being raped. Like, that's awful, that's horrible. But a lot of times there are not, maybe not a lot of times, but some of the times women put themselves in a position, right, for it to happen.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be you shouldn't be in the fucking dressing room with Donald Trump. Like, that doesn't even make sense. If you're trying on lingerie for this dude, right? What do you expect him to do? What do you think's going to happen?
Well, but it still doesn't excuse him if he did it, doing that.
No, I'm not saying it excuses it, but...
But what I wanted to say in this whole thing is the Me Too movement, when it started, and in some instances, is amazing. Because it helps victims of this type of crime that was going on for years get a voice. But at the same time, I want to say something else about it. There's a difference between rape and regret. And that's where I'm going with this. Because I think a lot of times, especially nowadays, because of the Me Too movement, women regret what they did or are pissed off that this guy who was famous doesn't call them, and now they're saying they were raped when really it was either consensual or they were fucked up.
Right.
And I'm sorry, if you're a woman and he does not drug your drink, now you're not drugged without your consent, but if you choose willingly to drink a bunch of alcohol,
right,
and then have sex with a guy, that's not rape.
Right, exactly.
I can't as a guy get drunk, and I mean, now Lord knows I'm going to put it out there. I fucked a fat, ugly bitch. A really, really, really fat, ugly girl. A girl that is so hideous. So disgusting. I mean, she looked like Miss Piggy in the face. She was very large, and she had the whiniest, high-pitched voice.
How large?
Oh, she was large.
250?
Oh, she was up there. And she looked like Miss Piggy in the face, and she had the voice of Fran Drescher.
What was this, a late night? Close the bar down?
No.
Walk her out to her car?
Actually, what's funny is the place we are sitting right now is the bedroom where it actually happened.
Really?
This place that we're recording right now that I turned into a studio, she lived in this apartment.
That's great.
I lived upstairs in this very building. And we were at a festival, and me and my buddy Jay Nunn had partaken of a large amount of marijuana. And when I say large amount, I mean 2 ounces within less than a 24-hour period.
Right.
Also, it was 50-cent tequila shot night at a bar at the festival. So I proceeded to drink the equivalent of probably a fifth, maybe more, of Jose. So to say I was drunk and fucked up is putting it mildly. I don't even remember the whole thing. I don't remember any of it. The only reason I know I had sex with her is because she told me the next day when I saw her out on the porch coming down from my apartment. I was so drunk that we pulled up to the curb out here. You know where the tree used to be right out in front of my house here? I opened the door to get out of his car and fell into the...
Fell into a pile of pussy.
Yeah, I fell and shut the hell. It was a pile, all right.
Fell right into the arms.
I fell.
She fucking swallowed you.
I fell into the yard.
Oh my god.
But anyways, my point...
Oh shit, where is the point?
The point is, I
Point
was...
is, Brian, fuck the fatty bitch.
The point I was trying to make is I regretted that. But it didn't mean she raped me.
Right.
I was not able to give my consent, but I was not raped. Okay, I participated.
Right.
And, you know, like right now, Russell Brand, do you know who Russell Brand is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Get Him to the Greek and Arthur. He's going through this.
He's out of snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 women are saying now that he sexually assaulted them and raped them. He says it was consensual. I mean, and this happened like over a 7-year period, like 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
Okay? So, again, that's my point. You know, on the one hand, the Me Too movement is great. But then you have the other hand where women who want money or are vengeful against the guy they had sex with are going to take advantage of this movement to get revenge or get money or, you know, whatever, and say they were raped when they weren't.
Yeah. No, I mean, you make a good point about, you know, regret. There's regret, revenge. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, there's been many women, I'm sure, who have been, you know, like you said, drunk, fucked up, drugged up, you know what I mean, on their own volition, by their own personal choice. And then that leaves them in a vulnerable position. That doesn't make it fucking right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? For somebody to have sex with them, but at the same time, dude, like, I've seen it, man. Like, we've all seen it. If anybody that's, you know, partied or been to a bar or a fucking college party, you know what I'm saying? Like, you've seen it. Girls so fucking wasted, dude. Like, and guys are the same way. You know what I'm saying? I have a couple guy buddies when they drink, like, they have a fucking switch. And they become so drunk, dude, that they literally transform into somebody else. They're not.
Right.
They're not them.
Right.
Well, there's girls that have it too. You know what I'm saying? And they're not in the right state of mind, and they shouldn't be taken advantage of. But also, like, am I taking advantage of it? Like, if I don't know this girl and I walk in and she's past that limit and her switch is flipped and she wants to fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not my fault if she wakes up the next day and doesn't remember it.
You're right.
And now is like, oh, did this dude rape me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't remember him bringing me home from the bar. I don't even remember, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, my oldest son wouldn't be born without that switch being flipped and alcohol being involved, because my wife is that way. The moment she starts drinking, her sexual freak comes out.
right.
Like we have done things like he was almost conceived behind a dumpster at a bar, dog. I mean,
Right.
and yeah, because we started having sex behind a dumpster. Now she would never do that sober,
Right.
but drunk, her would definitely do that. You know, but is that rape? No, of course that's not rape.
Right.
You know, that was. It's consensual whether you're fucked up or not, because no one made you drink anything. In fact, I knew a girl at a New Year's Eve party once. And I don't remember her name, but she took ecstasy and then drank on top of it. Was fucked up beyond belief. Then proceeded to have sex with one guy. Then proceeded to have sex with two guys at the same time while the whole party of guys watched. And then later on was like, I didn't want to do that. I was taking advantage of it. No.
Right.
You shouldn't have taken ecstasy.
Right. You were
and drank.
Right.
Right? You should think about these consequences before you do it. Now, that's not saying that every woman's not raped.
Right.
But if you're partying and drinking and then you have sex with a guy, you can't go back and say you were raped. That's not fair.
No, it's not.
Well, that's like, okay, for instance, we were talking a little while ago about the whole Danny Masterson thing. Yeah. Now, to put it out there, first of all, do I think he did it? 99% I would say yes, he did. Okay, and he was convicted, so I would say 100% that it's done, he did it. But there was a few things about the trials of this guy that kind of give me pause, not because of the Me Too movement or rape or anything, but because of our legal system and the way it was handled. Okay, I understand these women were in Scientology, and he was a Scientologist, and he was a very famous Scientologist.
Yeah.
And the Church of Scientology, we've talked about them before, they're shitholes anyways, but they suppress a lot of things that go on because they don't want the church to look bad, quote unquote. So, do I believe that they told these women not to press charges? Of course I do. Do I believe he probably took advantage of them? Yes. But the thing was, the first case, and for all of you that don't know this, you'll hear this for the first time. The first case ended in a mistrial. Okay, 3 women said he raped them. One of them, they couldn't prove it at all. So that was thrown out. The other 2 that he was convicted of eventually. The first case was a mistrial because they said that they believe he drugged them. Because of the way they felt, they were woozy and this and that. They know that they were drinking alcohol, though. And this is my point. Alcohol makes you woozy.
Yeah.
Alcohol makes you pass out if you drink enough of it. So who's to know how many alcoholic drinks they consumed? They said they didn't consume enough to get that drunk. But did they? Did they not? Who knows? It's a he said, she said kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he got a mistrial. Well, then they tried him again. And in the second trial, the judge ruled that it was okay for these women to say that they were drugged. Now, is that fair? Because if there's no evidence that they were drugged, 20 years have gone by, so they were never tested. No one saw him put any drugs in their drinks. He says he didn't. So is it fair to have 2 witnesses standing on the stand and say, this man drugged me, when they don't know if he drugged them?
Yeah.
He says he didn't, and nobody saw any drugs in any way, shape, or form go into the drink. So, is that a fair trial?
No, I mean, that's hearsay.
I would think so. And that was what it was ruled originally.
Yeah.
But he still got convicted, and he's doing 30 years now over that. So, see, it's like, we walk a fine line with our legal system, not just about rape, but a lot of crimes. I mean, I was watching a story the other day. This guy's ex-wife was murdered. He was convicted of the murder, first-degree murder. Okay, the only evidence they had against this guy was they had a videotape from a house. Okay. About 45 minutes before she was murdered, and he was walking in the direction of her house down the street. Now, he says, as an explanation of this, that he had a flat tire and he was walking in that direction because that was the direction he needed to go to get to a store. They convicted him of first-degree murder on that. On no other evidence, there's no other evidence than the fact that he walked by.
All kinds of innocent people sit in prison.
Well, of course. But this is my point, how do you convict a guy of murder with no evidence except for a videotape of him walking by.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Just like, how can you allow a witness to say, I was drugged, when they don't know if they were drugged? There's no evidence they were drugged. There's no proof.
No evidence that, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, how can you put that out there in a court of law? That's what I'm saying. You know, it's a balancing act, but I think our court system a lot of times is fucked up on that.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, another thing that's going to piss off a lot of people when I say it, but do I think that Scott, now you know who Scott and Lacey Peterson was, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I think Scott Peterson killed his wife? 100%. Okay, I have no doubt. And he was convicted. He's in prison right now for life and all of that. Do I think they had enough evidence to convict Scott Peterson of killing his wife? Not in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Because they had no evidence whatsoever. The only reason he was ever convicted of that crime was because he cheated on her and he looked guilty because he ran off and he was acting cagey and acted guilty.
Yeah.
But did they have any concrete evidence on that? No. There was no evidence to actually link him to the crime, except that she wound up in the bay where he was fishing. But again, she could have been thrown there by someone else. There's a lot of explanations to that. And to convict somebody based on that little, that slim of evidence is just, it's irresponsible if you ask me. Because it's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And nowadays, you're guilty by them jurors the moment you walk in that courtroom.
Oh, you're, of course.
They think you're guilty the moment you walk in there. And you have to prove yourself innocent.
You have to prove yourself innocent.
And that is not the way it should be.
That's how that's really how it is.
Right.
You're not innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
The minute that a charge comes up against you,
they think you're guilty.
It's on you. You're guilty, and it's on you to prove your innocence.
Right.
That's 100%.
And that is not the way it should work in any way, shape, or form.
But a lot of times, especially like in a murder, if somebody winds up dead, the cops and the judge and the whole system, a lot of times they get desperate.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? To convict somebody. Somebody has to pay for this.
Right.
And they're like any other job.
And they're going to take the easy way out.
They're lazy. They're sloppy. They don't. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to do their due diligence.
No.
If somebody looks guilty, by God, you know what I mean? We're going to make sure they're guilty.
Well, look at the Boston Strangler case.
Mm-hmm.
DeSalvo admitted to it. The cops said fine, but DeSalvo, he got convicted of it, of all the Boston Strangler murders. But the problem with that is there was no evidence against DeSalvo. In fact, DeSalvo got all the murder specifications of the murders wrong. He was wrong about all the details of the murders. And there was no evidence against DeSalvo. In fact, there was more evidence against a couple other suspects, but they couldn't prove it.
Was he?
So they just took DeSalvo and put him in jail.
Is he one of those that they interrogated for just hours upon hours until he finally said something?
No, he was crazy. DeSalvo was a mentally ill person. He was schizophrenic and he had mental issues. And he admitted to something that clearly, if you look at the Boston Strangler case, he clearly didn't do.
I feel like there was somebody else we talked about though where that happened.
Oh yeah,
where they just interrogated him for just hours upon hours.
Yeah, it was
until finally the dude just.
It was those three boys that we talked about.
Memphis,
the Memphis 6 or 3.
That's right.
The Memphis 3.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and they got that mentally ill child to confess to stuff
after
hours of interrogation. Right. Yeah, something he clearly didn't do either.
He just finally said what they wanted to hear. So
right. So, yeah, they just basically convicted him for no reason. And it was bullshit. But, yeah, that happens all the time. All the time. And that's what I'm saying about this whole rape allegation with Danny Masterson. Did he do it? Probably. I'd say he probably did.
Yeah,
But
if the
is the evidence there to convict? That's what you got to ask yourself.
The reason he's getting convicted is because they say he drugged a drink. But there's no evidence. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's rough.
I mean, because you gotta ask yourself. He probably did it, but this is what you gotta say to yourself. If I was in a situation where they thought I did something, and they had no evidence of it, would I want to be convicted of that shit?
Of course not.
Right.
Right. No,
So that's
fucking,
I mean,
it's rough, man.
and that's what happens too often nowadays, especially in these rape cases.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically ever since the Me Too movement, as soon as a woman says, hey, I wasn't consenting, I mean, it's like you're guilty automatically.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you prove that she consented? That's why I'm going to start getting written documentation every time I have sex with my wife. Need you to sign this paper, please. We need it authorized by an attorney before we proceed.
South Park episode of PC Principal. He goes upstairs in the morning of the frat house. And goes to everybody's door. He's like, need consent forms.
Yeah,
we need consent forms. You got laid last night. I need your consent forms. Fucking hilarious, but it's true, man.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the culture we happen to live in now. And I think, I mean, okay, the way it was before for women, and the way a lot of men acted was completely inappropriate. But the question I've always posed is, have we swung too far the other way?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've known guys that all they did was ask for a girl's phone number at work because they liked her and they're in HR trying to explain how they're sexually harassing her.
True.
And I mean, you know, how are you supposed to even meet people if you can't, I mean, unless you're online, or, you know, you can't even talk to people in person anymore.
Right.
I mean, if you go out in public and say the wrong thing to a girl, even in a store, you could get sexual misconduct. Oh, I didn't want this guy to approach me. Oh, next thing you know, you're in jail.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
So, you know, have we swung back too far the other way? Sometimes I think we have a little bit. And then they wonder why romance is dead. Well, we got to get 3 forms of ID and a fingerprint verification and an attorney involved just to get your number. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, you look at a girl wrong and piss her off at the wrong moment.
Yeah.
All she has to do is tell the cops, right?
Yeah.
That you harassed her, or that you put your hands on her, and yeah, there's no questions asked. You're going to jail.
Yeah.
Like it's the cop. The cop don't have a choice.
Uh-huh.
He's not listening to. He don't care what you say.
Oh,
She done said you did something. His job is to take you to jail, and now your job is to prove your innocence.
I'm going to tell you a story or a joke. It's a joke by a really funny comedian. You might know who he is. Do you know who Tom Segura is?
I've heard of him, yeah.
Okay, Tom Segura is hilarious. Kind of a chubby guy, beard, bald head. He said he was in a bar, and this is how the joke goes. Well, I'm going to tell it, but it's Tom Segura's joke, and it's so funny and so fitting to this.
Right.
He said he was in a bar in L.A., and he said, I saw some weird shit. He said, that's the only way to describe it. He said, I walked by this woman, and she was doing some weird shit at the bar. He said, so I walked back by her and saw her again, and she was doing some weird shit. He said, and what she was doing was playing with herself in the middle of the day at the bar. He said, and just to let you know, was she attractive? No, she wasn't. He said, so he went to the bouncer and he told him, hey, you see that not top model over there diddling her shit at the bar? He goes, you want to go say something to her? The bouncer looked at him and he goes, nah. And he goes, no, you got to say something. He goes, I'm not having any part of that. And he goes, you got to say something. So he calls over a 22-year-old little hostess, right? And the bouncer goes, hey, go handle her. So the 22-year-old hostess goes over there and kindly taps the woman on the shoulder and talks to her real politely, comes back to Tom Segura and the bouncer. And Tom Segura and the 22-year-old goes, she stopped. And Tom Segura goes, well, did she finish or did she stop? And the hostess goes, no, she stopped. And Tom Segura goes, well, is she allowed to stay? And she goes, well, yeah, she stopped. And he goes, would I be allowed to stay? He said, if I was just sitting at the bar playing with the tip? He said, no. He said, you would call the SWAT team and they would bust my head on the bar as they hauled my dead body out of here while y'all were cheering. And the 22-year-old hostess goes, you're right about that.
Yeah, it's true.
Right.
It's 100% true.
Right.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
But that's 100% true.
Absolutely.
If I whipped my dick out of the bar and was jerking off, I would have the cops there immediately. And this chick's over here finger banging herself, and it's perfectly all right.
Right.
We'll just tell her to quit. No.
Oh, dude, that's true.
Yeah, 100%.
Is she allowed to stay? Yeah, she stopped. That's great.
Here's some hot wings with a Sprite on us.
But yeah, no, I mean it is a great example.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Exactly what I'm saying, and that's my whole point.
Yeah.
But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this and we didn't piss off too many females in the audience.
I think we were mild.
I know we didn't piss off any guys. There's probably guys out there going, you're damn right. You're damn fucking right. Some bullshit.
I got called some bullshit.
I hear guys all over the nation cheering right now when they listen to this.
Right.
All the females are going, you know what, those fucking pigs.
Fucking assholes.
Those fucking assholes. You're the shit.
Somebody's going to call it a rape on me.
Somebody's going to write me an email and be like, you fucking dickhead.
Yeah, you raped me, you son of a bitch.
You're a piece of shit. You just think it's funny to make fun of women being raped? I'm going to get a fucking 2-page letter on this one on Facebook. You son of a bitch.
Fucking cops knock on your front door.
Yeah, this girl you've never met.
Right.
She said you offended her on the
Drugged her
podcast.
drink.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.
Later.